since, of course, Manchester City did the job and picked Arsenal by just 2 points in the end to claim another title. James Olley has been very busy in Germany, but he did have time for an exclusive interview with Mikel Arteta.
You've obviously had some time, as you said, to analyse last season. There's so much progress, club history you talked about, made, but obviously you couldn't quite win the league. I mean, how do you sort of reflect on it now you've had a chance to look back on it properly?
Well, when you are analytical and you gather all the stats and everything that the team has done over the past 11 months in the Premier League, we should have won it. That's what the stats say. The reality is that we didn't. So there is something that is there that we haven't managed as well as Man City or the clubs in the past. And I think we understand where those margins are. I think we have come very far. We've been really consistent now in the last 24 months in terms of performance and the lead levels that we want to hit. But those margins are super small. One thing is to get to the 90% that we want, and actually that 10%, 5%, 1% is what defines success and winning major trophies. And now we have to continue to do all the right things that we are doing and just get and nail those small margins that are going to be able to win the tournaments.
Can you give me an idea of what those small margins are? I mean, obviously, it was, because when we looked at it straight after the end of the season, it was easy to just point to the Villa game and think, well, if you win that, you win the league, right? But obviously, the analysis runs a lot deeper than that. So sort of where are these small margins? Where can you find that improvement from 18?
There are small margins. We have the game against Villa, as you said, and when you look at expected goals, what we generate just throughout the game, we should win it, but you don't. So the efficiency in the boxes obviously dictates your success when we are so dominant like we are right now in many games. You have decisions as well. They are not in your hands that can take a point or 2 points or 3 points away from you, and that can decide the title. So at the end, we're going to have to be that good that our worst version is going to have to be much better than the best version of the opponent. And this is what we're going to try to do. And in order to do that, we're going to have to dominate a lot of things that are going to be very difficult to identify with your eyes when you are watching a football match. I leave it there.
Did it take you a long time to get over it?
I don't want to go over it. So I'm really satisfied with the way the team is performing, the way the players are evolving, what the team transmits, the momentum that we have as a football club in all departments, not only on the men's side and the women's side, what we are doing with the academy, the prospect that we have right there. But we need that pain and that hunger to achieve what we want to achieve, because the competition is unbelievable, and we're going to need everybody feeling that way to achieve it.
Arteta there speaking to James Olley from Marbella. From Marbella to a dingy hotel room in Germany as Jules joins us. Jules, what struck you from that interview in particular with Arteta?
Well, I think the headlines obviously is when he says we should have won it. I think for most of the season they were very likely the best side in the Premier League. But over 38 games, the team that wins the league is the best team. I would have loved Arsenal to win this title, of course. And again, they came closer, very closer than last season, or the season before, And they're almost there, and he's right. There's a 1%, 2%, maybe 3% marginal gain still that City have ahead of them. And I hear him when he said that they've been the best team for most of that season. But in the end, over so many games, the one that wins it is the best team. They are the best team. So they still need to catch City. It's not easy. And I think they can use what happened last season, maybe that frustration of being so good for so long in that campaign and still falling short, to be able to, this time next season, make sure that they win it.
Maka, you made a rare, interesting point when you said they need to win. They need to just get a trophy.
A rare, interesting point. We know how difficult it is to win the Premier League. Of course you do. And it's going to be difficult for them next year. I think they should just concentrate on trying to win a trophy first. Give the fans something to cheer about, because it's very difficult to get above Manchester City, especially with the finance, especially with the manager. They'll go against City because they can spend money, not unlike a lot of the other teams who are competitive against them. You know, Manchester United won a couple of trophies in the last couple of years. Liverpool have won trophies. Give the fans something. I thought they've been weak in Europe over the last few seasons. So you have to be stronger right through, all through the 4 competitions, I believe, rather than just focus on the Premier League, because the Premier League's going to be really difficult next year to win as well. We've seen that over the last couple of years. Liverpool will come again. Chelsea will be stronger. United will be stronger. So to just rely on the Premier League, I think is ridiculous, really. Go and win a trophy first and foremost.
I think there are 2 ways to get into the top and win the Premier League. The first one is kind of an accident or a feat, I would say, like Leicester did. But clubs like Arsenal, like clubs like Manchester United, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, maybe, to stay at the top, go at the top and stay at the top. And there is a learning process to that, where you have to lose before getting the experience and being mature enough to get it. It's like the Champions League. We have no team who won the Champions League at the first time that they play the final. There is always a learning process and acceptation of the defeat before getting better.
Is that fair, Jules?
Yeah, all the points the boys are making are fair in terms of winning, having that winning mentality. Arteta won the FA Cup, obviously. With Arsenal, he won some Community Shield. The FA Cup starts to go a while ago now, during COVID. And then the Community Shields is a bit different, really. So that winning mentality has to be there. This is still a very young squad, by the way, the second youngest in the league. So maybe they also need in their recruitment to look at some players with experience. Declan Rice is amazing and he had a great impact on that team, but he also arrived with not the biggest of palmarès. I know there was that European trophy with West Ham, but you see what I mean in terms of Premier League winning experience, that kind of thing. But that also will come, and same for Arteta. Arteta is still a young manager, really, when you compare with Pep, for example. He's been in the job for 5 years. Pep has been in the job for 20 years. Klopp has been in the job for 20 years. So these makes difference at some point. But he mentioned the Aston Villa game, of course. That was Bayern Munich in the Champions League, Villa, and then Munich again. And those 3 back-to-back, at that time in the season, were clearly too much for the squad. I don't know, for the players, mentally, physically, technically, the pressure, the expectations, the lack of experience at that Champions League level for most of the boys. And maybe that's also something they need to address.
Let's talk about some of the additions then they could make to the squad, Jules. Calafiori, of course, caught the eye for Italy when they were in the tournament. Don loves him, and then some. He could be making that move from Bologna to Arsenal. This has got real traction, yeah?
Yeah, they like him a lot. I mean, everybody likes him. There's not just Don as well, or Arsenal, or Chelsea. A lot of people like him. Bologna would rather sell abroad because they need to give 50% of the transfer fee to Basel, where he was with his previous club. And when Basel sold him to Bologna for only 4 million euros, they negotiated a 50% clause in terms of resale. So whatever Bologna gets, half of it goes to Switzerland. So they need to get the higher price, and the higher price will only come from England, nowhere else. Certainly not from another Italian club, like a Juventus, for example. So Bologna would rather that he goes to England. His agent are working on that as well. Now Arsenal have to be careful with the money they spend, the money they have to spend, like a lot of other English clubs too, because of PSR and because of all those rules. So they have to be careful. They also need a number 6 and number 8. So I think they are there. They're very interested. Other clubs are also very interested because he's that good. He can play left back. He can play as a defensive midfielder. He can play centre back. He's left-footed. He's great on the ball. He used to play in a team that presses and runs, so he has that kind of intensity in him. And he's also very young. So he ticks a lot of the boxes for a lot of clubs. Arsenal are not the only one, so we'll keep an eye on this one. I don't expect this one to get sold very quickly, though.